What does 500 consecutive games feel like to you?
It sure seems like a lot. It's interesting. I guess I never began with any kind of numbers in mind. That was never my intent. It was just kind of fun. Always been fun, kind of following the Dragons. And as the years kind of piled up, we took notice. There's some other people around the country that were kind of, calibrating their numbers, and so it got published somewhere around the 300 mark. And I never looked at that in advance, but it was great fun. And then I was fortunate enough to, I think, hit 400 when we were down in Winona a few years ago, and I didn't know if I'd be around long enough to add to it. But again, and I was kind of lucky too, as a young SID, I got to travel with the football team. And that was kind of accepted practice back then. And that's not always true today. A lot of sports information directors, when their football team is on the road, their volleyball team or soccer's at home. And so a lot of them really don't have that opportunity. But I always had that when I was younger, and then I got a little older. Somehow we were able to make some arrangements that I could continue to go. I know some people are tired of it, but even this day, I think jumping in a bus with a team of players and coaches you really like, and getting to witness stuff firsthand, it's still pretty exciting.
Was there ever a moment where maybe game you weren't feeling well, or almost didn't make the bus, or was it
no? I don't know if my training habits were all the best at all the time, but I was lucky that way with health issues, as opposed to some people. I was always able to be there and to follow them, and I guess like I said, it was nice, and I'm really appreciative of some of the people in administrative roles were kind enough to allow me to make some adjustments, and so I could continue to travel.
And are you aware of anybody else that is even close?
No, there was a guy in Louisiana, Bonet, I think it was Lee Bonet, and he was at one of those directional schools. And for a while, he had gone to maybe about 20 more games, than I had. And I asked the national organization, and they used to chart that, but they said they don't do that anymore. So I don't know. I don't know of anybody else. Maybe there might have been some that have been to more games, and I've been to more than that too. I mean, there were another 20, 30 I saw earlier when I was younger, a student and that kind of thing. But consecutively, I don't know if there's anybody else. And it'd be a kind of a small fraternity, I guess, but it'd be kind of fun to know if there's other people involved.
When you think about 500 of them, which of them kind of stand out to you as kind of the most prominent?
Oh, there's a couple, and a lot of times, people, when they ask to reminisce, will tell you about games that were lost, right? Certainly in 1981, when we had 5 straight shutouts, led the nation and ranked #1 in the country. We played at Minnesota Duluth in a big showdown. They won 20 straight, and we beat them 29-0 up there. I mean, that was a marvelous game, and that put us into the national playoffs for the first time. And that was a great trip down to play Pittsburgh, Kansas, and then we lost 14-13 after we had a lead, and so that certainly stung. That was one of the toughest losses. I think Coach Fortsch's second year when we beat Michigan Tech, they were coming in here off 2 60-point wins, and they were ranked 4th in the country, and they were a huge favorite. But it rained for about 3 days, and this beautiful field that we're standing on now, Shields, was nothing but mud, and we were able to upset them. George Spanish ran a long punt back, and that was it. And that kind of started the Fortschi years going. We won the conference championships that year, and that kind of really got us on a roll. And so those are memorable. In 1991, when we came back, scored on the last play of the game to beat Southwest State when they were unbeaten. That put us in the playoffs. That was Coach Fortschi's last great team. That was fun. But all of them, and certainly we've enjoyed this year, that coming out party over Winona State on opening night, man, and I don't really remember maybe a better atmosphere, with the exception of the Concordia games. That was great fun, and then beating a very good Augustana team. It doesn't get much better than that. Certainly those Dragon Cobra games of yesteryear, they were magical. Huge crowds and that, and great rivalry, and I doubt that can ever come back. Maybe it's from a different time. A lot of those kind of rivalries have vanished, but for a while that was awfully special games. It meant a lot to a lot of people, and so to see about 40 of them was really an honor too.
Talk about how your role has changed in those 500 games, from a student worker to one of the first SID in MSUM history, to retiring and enjoying the broadcast, and now today on TV?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of the, the stats and that, which I enjoyed, and then the game day management, which a lot of people like yourself and Tom Berg now have to worry about. There's a lot of things that go in there, and I remember it was always stressful. I always wanted to make sure we had the best looking press box in the country and organized, and we wanted to have the right, food and snacks for the people, and really wanted people to leave. My thought was I always wanted them to leave MS thinking that's big time, and so you want to make sure your staff behaves well, and and all those things. So there was kind of a relief when the day was done. You look forward to it, but in a way, it was hard to enjoy the game because they had so many responsibilities, and you guys have those obligations today. And now it's a little different for me. I can back off. I do the radio and the television with Steve. And there's some preparation that goes into it. I understand that, but I don't have to worry about if files don't open and stat crew and things like that, and just different things that can happen. And because it's a constant thing when you're working in the press box. But you always want to be the best host you could, and I always wanted people to think that we were the best team in the league. And if we could do it at that end and be civil, do our job as well as we could, and be as helpful to the media in that, that was a fun thing. And then when it was all done, we'd make our phone calls, and it was always a real treat to hook up to like WCCO. You get on something live statewide, and start spreading the gospel about the Dragons. That was fun. So I'm fortunate now, I really am, because now I travel. I don't have those additional worries. Things are taken care of. I'm treated like royalty up there with Steve, and we couldn't ask for any more. So it is we're kind of on the flip side, but I enjoy it. You still feel like you're part of it, which is nice, and that's a big thing. That I'm no longer there day to day. I understand that, but I still have a role, something to do. Hopefully that is helpful, or that I can give back a little bit to Dragon Athletics, and so I'm a lucky guy to have that.
You mentioned something about riding the bus with the guys. So why in the world would anyone ever want to go to 500 straight Dragon games?
Well, I don't know. To me, it's I enjoy the road trips. I really do, and in particular, when you stay overnight, and I think you learn a lot about the players and coaches when you travel with them, and to see them. And I'm really extremely proud of this team, of the coaches and the players. How they act. The great care they have for each other is evident. The coaches are very professional. They are very much into teaching. There's really, from the way I see it, no discipline problems or things. So I always say it's a very easy team to cheer for. And so that makes it doubly kind of fun to travel. I guess one of the only problems is a lot of times when you have night games, you get back late and that kind of thing, and that gets a little harder as you get older. But being there, sharing the meals with the players, seeing them get ready for the game, kind of being there when the tension and the atmosphere kind of starts to bubble up before games, that's fun. And then, honestly, there's not much more satisfying than getting a great win on the road. That's even kind of doubles down your pleasure, like when we go to Concordia and win on the last play of the game. And beating good teams on the road is really, really fulfilling. And of course, a lot of times it doesn't happen. Then you get in the bus and you head home with them. But like I said, the players have been very kind to me and the coaches and that. So it's enjoyable. I know some people would just as soon as maybe stay home and watch it. I'm not quite to that point yet. I really like being there firsthand.
Yeah, I guess that's the last question is, how many more do you got left? Big guy?
I don't know. It would be fun to be around when we win the conference championship, and I think that's going to happen. I don't know how soon. We're in a competitive league, but you can tell the strides we've taken the last couple of years. And so, we got another showdown with Duluth on Saturday, which would be fun. But like I said, knowing that we're 3-1, if somebody had asked at the beginning of the year, would you settle for that? I would have said, oh yeah. To me, this is still a developmental program. We're getting a little bit every year. We're not quite there yet, and I think the coaches and players would admit to that. But just look how far we've come in a couple of years, and the fact that it's done the right way. That's what I like, with real good, decent kids, right, and coaches and that. No shortcuts. Just a lot of hard work, good recruiting, and a lot of faith. And so. I can't wait for Saturday because I fully expect the Dragons to bounce back. I know they were disappointed last weekend, but they will be ready Saturday. And again, that's one of those old strongholds. We all grew up you know, facing those Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs and how sweet that will be to give them a great game.
And I guess one last follow-up is there anybody along the way that has kind of helped make 500 in a row possible for you?
Well, yeah, there's a couple. Certainly Larry McLeod, who was the athletic director when I started, and he got me my first job keeping staffs at basketball games and running around and that. And then he kept encouraging me that maybe someday that they would create this job. It wasn't a full-time job at the time. There weren't very many in the state. And so after I graduated, I was in the Army for a while. I came back to grad school. And then when I was offered a job at Minnesota as an assistant, then that kind of sparked things. And Dr. Dill called me in his office and said, if you stay, we'll create a full-time job and you can have it. And they don't, you know, no search committees. They don't do that anymore. But that was long ago. And so that's kind of how it started. And then when Coach Fortune came in football, it's much like Coach Lockway. I could see right away, I knew things were going to be different and better. And they really were, and we had a lot of fun for a long time. Then later Ralph Michelli came in, and I enjoyed working with him, and a couple other coaching changes. So I think those are the people that really gave me maybe the most encouragement. And then, you know, athletic directors too, like when we had Katie Wilson came in for a while. She kind of knew about the football thing and allowed me to kind of participate and continue that, which I liked. And now, you know, Doug, especially Doug Peters, you know, has given me a small role, which I like, and he's always been very supportive of it. He's been especially kind to me. I'm not sure why, but he's really made me feel at home. And so, unlike a lot of other people, that, you know, I didn't have to completely walk away when I was done, which was nice, because for a while that's always difficult when your career's over in a way. But you know, they allowed me to hang around. I still get to do that. So, you know, there's just so many people here at the university that have been good, and that's why it's always home to me.
Well, I know Dragon football will definitely be. I can't even imagine it without Larry Scott.
Oh well, no, they'll be fine. And
that's all I know. I mean, ever since I
I know.
Even as a student, it's.
But you know, I'm not the world's greatest football mind or something, but to be able to tag along like I do and still be around is great fun, and to see the changes and that. And I think it's a great time to be a Dragon. You know, I think we're all inspired by President Blackhurst. It was gread fun. I think we've got great leadership in the athletic department, and to see our teams. The basketball thing last year was wonderful, and to get to head to the national championships with the guys was a great thrill. And so there's a lot of really good things that are going on, right? And a lot of teams that are getting better and competitive. And so, you know, I always said it's great to be young and a Dragon. I said that for years, and yeah, I have to amend that a little bit, but it's still great to be a Dragon.